Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today at the Palestinian American Community Center. I'd like to give a special thanks to our guests from Jewish Voice for Peace, North Jersey chapter, for being here today as well. Over 20 years have passed since the Oslo Accords, and many would argue that we are not any closer today to the achievement of the two-state solution that it roughly outlined. We have seen in the past few years the ascension of the most right-wing Israeli government in its history, one in which many of its members adamantly oppose the creation of a Palestinian state. Further emboldened by the election of Donald Trump, this Israeli government has moved ahead in recent weeks with massive expansion of settlement activity in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, as well as passing a bill that legalizes, quote-unquote, expropriation of private Palestinian land for settlement use. With the expansion of settlements eating up the West Bank by the week, the apparent backing away by Trump of the long-held U.S. position that two states is the only option for peace, and the continued political and geographical division among the Palestinians, the two-state solution is looking increasingly impractical, if not impossible. In Trump's recent press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu, many were shocked to hear him say that he's looking at both two-state and one-state options. Here to talk to us today about this emerging one-state reality is Mr. Josh Ruebner. Mr. Ruebner serves as the policy director at the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, a diverse national coalition working for freedom, justice, and equality in Palestine. He previously served as the executive director of Jews for Peace in Palestine and Israel, and is a former analyst in Middle East affairs at the Congressional Research Service, a federal government agency providing members of Congress with policy analysis. Mr. Ruebner is also the author of the book Shattered Hopes: Obama's Failure to Broker Israeli-Palestinian Peace. He has some copies with him today if you're interested in purchasing a copy after today's talk. And without further delay, please join me in welcoming Mr. Josh Ruebner.
Thank you very much, Amin, for that kind introduction, and thank you to Rania for inviting me here, and to the entire Palestinian American Community Center. Thank you all for coming. I'm Josh Ruebner, Policy Director for the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. And I'm here today to talk about an issue that has been in the news quite a lot, which is the emerging one-state reality for Palestine in the Trump era. But before we talk about current day realities, I want to bring in a little historical context to this discussion. Most, if not everyone here, is familiar with the hagiography of how the United States recognized Israel. This is a big point in Zionist discourse to make mention of the fact that Harry S. Truman, when he was president, recognized Israel only 11 minutes after declaring independence, the first nation in the world to do so. This, of course, followed U.S. support in November of 1947 for the partition of Palestine into two states, a Jewish state and an Arab state. This is all fairly well known, and I'm sure is well known to you as well. But what is less well known is the history that preceded that decision to support the partition of Palestine and to support the recognition of Israel. And it's that hidden history that I'd like to resurface this afternoon as a prelude to our discussion of the trends that we are seeing today. As the British mandate was drawing to a close over Palestine during the course of World War II, and it was becoming more and more obvious that Britain would be eclipsed in the post-World War II era by the United States and the Soviet Union as the emerging superpowers, the United States began to think about what should we do about the Middle East in general, and what should we do about Palestine in particular when the war ends. So FDR, President Roosevelt, sent out to the Middle East a fellow by the name of Brigadier General Patrick Hurley as his personal representative in 1943 in the middle of the war to assess the situation and to make recommendations to him as to what should be done for Palestine. This is what Hurley reported back to FDR.